The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, Ashanti Region Otumfuo II warns against use of obsolete presidential jets and helicopters for the Ghana Armed Forces as he cautions politicians against over-politicization of the matter. We'll take you live to Kumasi for details for that. Plus, hear from former Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwu, who is bemoaning the poor state of the Ghana Armed Forces, calling for immediate intervention.
Sources to retool the entire Ghana Armed Force. The Air Force must be retooled.
There's no way we can.
Also, coming up tonight on News 9, you might have heard the term activate body cams during the 2024 general elections and thought it refers to physical body cams. Well, it actually is not body cam, but this.
The body camera thing was a code. It's not a normal camera that you people see.
Okay.
It's a strategy.
That needs to be activated.
It's just like the blood of Jesus. It's a code in the Bible that you need to go higher before they can decode it for you.
We'll take you to the Black Star Square, where final preparations are underway for the state burial tomorrow for 6 of the 8 victims of last Wednesday's helicopter crash. All these and more coming up on Newsnight. But before that, business.
Well, World Bank warns the logistics company of Ghana could be hit with more than 2 billion debt before the close of this year due to failure to charge realistic tariffs.
And in sports, MTN Ghana announces $2 million 2-year sponsorship deal for 5 national football teams.
Got the latest of these and many other stories coming up on News 9. Remember, you can be a part of the conversation by WhatsApping us on our platform 055 1111 997. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
My name is Pelo Furi.
Thanks for staying with us. We begin from the Ashanti region, where the Ashanti Region Otumfuo II has cautioned political actors against turning the procurement of presidential planes and helicopters into partisan propaganda, stressing that such accusations are matters of national security and not political convenience. He issued the caution when the Ashanti Regional Minister Frank Amwakohene paid a courtesy call on him at the Menchia Palace following last week's tragic helicopter crash in Obuasi, which claimed the lives of 8 people. Let's cross over live to Kumasi, where my colleague Nana Boachi Yadom is standing by for us with some insight from this meeting. Nana, what triggered this caution from the Ashanti Region? We're trying to get more details from our Ashanti regional correspondent, Nana Boachi Yadom. We understand we have him now. Nana, what triggered this caution from the Ashanti Region Otumfuo II?
Well, Ken, this caution from the Ashanti Region came after the Ashanti Regional Minister, Frank Amwakohene, and his entourage paid a visit to him to formally tell him about what had happened at Obuasi last week. Although the Ashanti has already received his briefing on the incident by the chief there, the Ashanti said that over the last period, we have politicized the purchase of presidential jets and even helicopters for the Ghana Armed Forces. He says that the safety of our personnel and of government is very much essential. And so we must, in fact, political actors must desist from politicizing the issue and must make sure that the procurement of such presidential jets and helicopters are done without any political intervention.
We know that the Otumfuo has been very vocal about the fight against illegal mining. Did he talk about anything concerning Galamsey in this meeting?
Exactly so. He says that the demise of the 8 individuals should trigger government to continue with the fight against illegal mining. He says that this must trigger every individual, including government in itself, to make sure that the fight is won. And the death of these individuals should lead us into taking immediate steps.
Nana, I just want to find out briefly, what was the reaction from the Ashanti Regional Minister?
Well, the Ashanti Regional Minister welcomed the caution by the Ashanti Otumfuo II, saying that the government is going to take up all the recommendation that is going to come up from the committee that has been established so far. And so it was a welcoming moment for him, especially with the caution that came out from the Ashanti Region.
And do we have any update on the Ashanti Region's funeral?
Well, what we do know is that on the 21st of August, that's next week Thursday, the 1-week ceremony is going to take place at the forecourt of the Menchia Palace. But currently, we have the palace decorated with black and red, indicating that the Ashanti Kingdom is in mourning.
Nana Boache Yadom is our resident correspondent in the Ashanti region, bringing us those details. Thank you very much.
And can let's stay on issues related to the helicopter crash, and former Minister for Defense Dominic Nitu has also bemoaned the poor state of the Ghana Armed Forces in terms of provision of state-of-the-art equipment for their work. His comment comes at the back of the military helicopter crash and death of the 8 Ghanaians a week ago, including the Defense and Environment Minister. He spoke on PM Express last night.
I want to say straight away that as much as possible, we should veer away from politics.
Okay.
It won't help us in this discussion because political actors have different views when it comes to some of these things and what they do and what they didn't do. What role he played in politics, he didn't play in politics. Political actors, well, if you want to unite the nation, you are going to have a lot of people disagree with you in certain aspects.
Yeah.
What I say is that I'm concentrating on their work in the ministry, service to Ghana, and service generally across.
I mean, collectively, what should we do as a country to immortalize their memory?
You cannot allow the Air Force to be in the state in which they are. Even if we don't have resources to retool the entire Ghana Armed Forces, the Air Force must be retooled to the best of their ability.
Well, let's stay a bit longer on this because another key revelation that came on the show is the fact that none of Ghana's military aircrafts are on any insurance policy. Well, this was revealed by former Majority Leader Chairman Sabunsu, who believes we must find a way to insure some of these equipment against times of tragedy. Listen.
The military copters are not insured. But given where we are today and the fact that cities are far between, and the president and ministers have to travel by these copters. Apart from ensuring routine servicing, but of course the armed forces are very spot on when it comes to servicing their vessels. Has the time come for us, given the fact that they have become more or less passenger planes for
a regular means of transport for VIPs.
Regular means of transport for the president, ministers, and so on. Has the time come for us to consider perhaps insuring these ones that serve other purposes other than just military purposes? Remember that until the tragedy befell the nation at Accra Stadium, the stadia in the country were not insured. They were not. But then Parliament then took a decision and requested the ministry and the Football Association, the GFA, to start immediately, beginning from the next succeeding year, to insure our stadia.
Yeah.
And ever since, we have been doing that.
Osei Chairman Sabunsu is a former Majority Leader and MP for Swami constituency. Well, let's go into the telephone lines and speak to Colonel Festus Abuaje, who's a security analyst. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Help us understand, are military vehicles and aircrafts supposed to go through any form of insurance like ordinary vehicles? And really, what benefits does it bring to personnel?
Are you Ivan Spencer?
I am Kenneth Jesse.
Oh, okay, Chief. Good evening. And to your listeners also. My knowledge, and I'll start from the United Nations, which conducts global peace operations on the ground and in the air. And my knowledge is that the UN does not insure its vehicles. So when we join the United Nations on peacekeeping, as part of our training, we are advised against allowing non-entitled personnel to travel on UN transport, whether on the ground or in the air. And that such persons travel at their own risk. What the UN has is a compensation scheme for its peacekeepers, including its civilian officials, but not any other person who is not integral to the peace operations. So now let's come back to military operations in general. I think our history would show that in Ghana, we don't insure military equipment, including our transport and aircraft. My research shows that countries like the US and the UK do not do that. South Africa, for instance, which is one nation that we keep citing, also doesn't do that. And the primary reason is that if you go commercial insurance, you are likely to pay through the nose. So the cost alone is prohibitive. So what considerations countries may make is what is called self-insurance. In our case, we don't need to argue that self-insurance must cover all the helicopter fleet, let's say the Z9s, which I stand to correction, there are about 6 of them. Because not all the 6 are used for VIP travels. So we can be very discriminative and say that going forward in the future, this particular Z9 that crashed was purposely for, let's say, for VIP, flights. So anytime VIPs fly on that, like this particular one, given the disaster, the armed forces or the Ghana Air Force would claim insurance. So any of our fleet, whether transport or whether air or whatever, that we carry civilians on board, particularly VIPs, we may begin to consider the conversation around insurance. If we don't do that, and we go blanket and say that because our aircraft is VIPs, all the fleet that the Ghana Air Force has, X of that, Y of that, A of that, all of them must be insured. I don't think that would be a very good policy direction. So we need to be selective. And the conversation must be between the political authorities and the professional, that is the Ghana Air Force, for instance. And it must be non-partisan. Because if one government, incumbent government, takes a decision to go insurance, and the opposition at the time of that decision, policy decision, is not in favor, it's likely the policy will be reversed. And then we'll be going around in this kind of merry-go-round. So it must be a national conversation. Yes.
Cardinal, you are a security analyst. What type of insurance would you suggest to authorities?
Well, you can have a house. Let me take my own example in South Africa. So the house that I was living in, first of all, South African policy says that all houses must be insured. That's the minimum. So you insure the house. That is the structure. But a house or a building has other assets in there. You may park your car. You may have fridges. You may have air conditioners. You may have geysers. And they are geysers or water heaters. And not the small ones that we use in Ghana. These are huge containers. The equipment in the house may cost a lot. So it's optional to you to then decide that you are going to insure the important, properties that you have in the house. And then, of course, the house is meant to be occupied.
Okay.
Against different hazards. It could be floods, it could be fire, it could be human beings. The human beings could be one person. It could be a family, husband, wife, children. So when you talk insurance, you must have a basic level, a threshold where you say all houses must be insured, all cars must be insured, all this must be insured.
Colonel, I'm sure you heard the former Defense Minister Dominic Nitu also bemoan the poor state of military equipment. Is the situation that bad that we should be worried?
I didn't get a question because I was still talking.
In that the former defense minister, Dominic Nitiwu, has bemoaned the poor state of military equipment. Is the situation that bad that we should be really concerned?
Well, I cannot put a value on the degree of deterioration or whatever. But like we have always been told, there are external factors. And over the last 2 days or so, I've used the example of the Ukraine-Russian war. First of all, because Russia is using its own Mi-17s, its priority is towards its own Air Force. On top of that, U.S. has imposed sanctions to the extent that it says even if you are not Russia and you do business with Russia, you suffer consequences. So the Mi-17 fleet that we have, for instance, is one of the unintended consequences of this war. There are more than one of the Mi-17 sitting on the ground that we cannot find parts for, not because the government has not made, and when I say government, I mean in a generic sense,
okay,
that the government has not made budgetary funds available, but because you cannot find the parts. So there could be so many circumstances. Of course, the priorities of governments could be one, that they would decide that, look, let me give one example, because I don't want to be controversial. We are in this crisis, and like you are mentioning, the maintenance of Ghana Armed Forces, this and that and that. Our priority at this time is to set up an office to review prophecies. Now, that setting up costs money. But is that the way that we should be going, for instance? I mean, if the U.S., you get up in the U.S. or UK and you prophesy that, President Trump is going to die, the first response would be to deploy FBI, CIA assets to see whether physically they could do something to prevent it. It is not to go to a spiritual leader. So if governments decide that their priorities are this or that, then in this instance, for instance, you set up offices, you set up all manner of things. But the real business of equipping the Ghana Armed Forces may not be the priority. I'm just using a generic argument.
Can Professor Sabuachi appel here? Of course, today, the Ashanti Regional Minister, Frank Amwaku, paid a courtesy call on the Ashanti Otumfuo 32. And at that meeting, one of the things that came up was that the Ashanti cautioned political actors against turning the procurement of presidential planes and helicopters into partisan propaganda. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think the Ashanti may very well be right. For instance, if we stand from the history of the sixth plane, the Fokker 9 or Fokker whatever that, I think President Otumfuo decided to order a bigger one and a smaller one. When the late President Atamils took over, he reset the national priorities. And it's not that he is wrong or he was wrong, but he thought that our priorities could not afford spending money on acquiring two, VIP aeroplanes. So he opted for the smaller one. You cannot fault President Kufuor for having ordered two, and you cannot fault former late President Atamils for scaling it down to one. So, for instance, at this material time, let's look broadly at our economic situation and then find out where the scale of the priorities are.
Okay.
Whether we should spend millions of CDs to buy a new plane and which type of plane. If we come back to the helicopters, for instance, we have a mix. Mm-hmm. We have the Z9s, we have the Bell Augusta, and then we have the Russian Mi-17. The Mi-17 is the most expensive, but it has better capabilities, lift, and so on to do so many things. So if you look at your budget, you haven't got money to buy 6 of them. Then you juggle your options. And then you say, okay, let me get 2 of the MI, let me get 3 of this Augusta, and let me get 6 of the Z9s. Because the Z9s, not that they are cheap, but they are economical.
Colonel Faisal Abuaji, thank you very much for your time on Newsnight. Meanwhile, leadership of the Defense and Interior Committees in Parliament have made a bipartisan commitment to ensure the retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces in honor of the 8 fallen heroes. Listen to Chairman of the committee, James Agauga, and a ranking member, Reverend Otumfuo.
The best way we can remember Umani is to ensure that that vision is not shattered. Yeah. Whoever chosen to replace Dr. Umani Puama must continue with that vision so that our armed forces is able to fly. Our army has all the logistics they require as well as the Navy.
Mr. Otumfuo, does he have your support in this, in ensuring this retooling in ultimate memory of Omani Boama?
Yeah, very much so, Evans. My chairman, Honorable Agaga, has the full support of myself and all members on the committee. This is a collective resolve we've made way back even before this unfortunate incident.
And tonight, a united call is rising across Ghana to wage an unrelenting war on illegal mining, a call to honor the memory of the 2 cabinet ministers and 6 others who perished in last week's helicopter crash on their way to Obuasi to launch a community mining initiative. While leading the charge is Cardinal Peter Appiah Turkson, Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Science and Social Sciences, who says the country can no longer remain a passive observer, but in what he describes as a battle for the nation's very soul. Cardinal Turkson warns that the country is racing towards an environmental catastrophe that could curse generations yet unborn if decisive action is not taken now.
See, creation lashes back every now and then. Elsewhere, Miami is losing coastline because of rising sea level. So it's so clear around us that our disregard for concern for nature and creation is leading to a whole lot of disasters which affect and impact our life. So one might simply say that we cannot abusively treat the environment without thinking about abusively treating our own lives, you know. And this is not to talk about people of faith or religious people. Religious people praying with the Bible read in Psalm 19 how creation reveals God. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, and we human beings do not proclaim the glory of God. We abusively deal with what God has created and protected. Underlies your own life of worship. There's no way we can treat creation or nature anyhowly and expect that our own lives on earth would also be successful or profitable.
Well, Deputy Director in charge of IT for the NDC and Acting Chief Executive Officer of GIFEC, Rashid Computer, has added his voice to the growing calls for a tougher fight against illegal mining, urging that the battle be intensified to honor the victims of the Z9 helicopter crash.
Yeah, it's one aspect that Dr. Omani Boama was very much passionate. In fact, every time we met and we were talking about party issues, he was interested in this Galamsey business. Remember, there was one community formed in the forest, one of the...
Yes.
Which I
recall.
Yes, he went and made sure that they demolished that community. It was creating havoc in our river bodies and all that. That was one of the first things he did. A lot of people were not monitoring that because Omani...
So he was behind the raid that led to the discovery of the place, but also the arrest of the people in the forest.
It was Omani. The man was a master planner. The thing is that Omani was not interested in cameras. That was the type of person.
Now we are joined on the phone lines by Professor Nana Ama Brown Kluche, Chief Executive Officer for the Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you for your time on Newsnight. Prof, there is a renewed call for the government and, of course, relevant authorities to change our current approach to illegal mining in a way that sort of honors our fallen heroes. Just wanted to find out what your initial reaction to that is.
Yeah, I have particularly avoided the media since this incident because I was broken, completely broken. This is one of the strategies we have planned And just on the day of the lunch, we had an unfortunate incident like that. So my reaction to issues of illegal mining has been a multifaceted approach, one of which is the cooperative mining to actually coordinate these small-scale miners to mine responsibly and legally. The other approach is to go radical on the stubborn ones. So whilst we are on this, so first you do the more diplomatic one to get the people, do the community engagement, which is the one we started doing. And the day we launched, we had this incident. So I think that we can be more radical. I was having an informal conversation and said this should make us more angry towards the fight, because the longer we wait, the more life we lose.
Professor Kluche, if you say more radical, what do you mean by that? Shoot to kill policy?
Well, the president is not so happy with that, to shoot to kill, because we are dealing with human beings. But where somebody will act and kill many more lives through pollution of water bodies, for instance, then you want to change your approach. Even if it's not shoot to kill, we can have other ways of shooting and not killing. But I think we should be more radical than the way we are going about it. So instead of discussion on board, let's say we have a funeral tomorrow. Probably after the funeral, we'll sit back and then re-strategize on this.
Professor Kluche, if I understand you clearly, you are not in support of shoot to kill, but you are perhaps in support of shoot, don't kill.
So we can shoot rubber bullets, we can spray hot water, we can spray itchy substances just to deter people from getting back. For me, it has more been on the water bodies than even the land. For the land, it's not too difficult to reclaim, though it's expensive. But for the water, which we drink, which we use for everything, it's an emergency situation we have to tackle with all the radicality we can put on the plate.
Professor Kluche, thank you very much for your time this evening. She is the CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency. Pearl.
We expect that.
It's one aspect that
we expect that we would all comport ourselves, we will respect the guidelines. We do not want to see tomorrow anybody holding a phone.
And that's how orderly government wants the funeral service for 6 of the 8 gallant men who died last week to be at the Black Star Square. Briefing the media earlier today, Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of operations, Stan Dobe, mentioned the military-led ceremony will strictly observe all protocols and accord full honors to the deceased. He added adequate security arrangements have been made to maintain order.
We expect that we would all comport ourselves, we will respect the guidelines. We do not want to see tomorrow anybody holding a phone or a monopod and struggling to chase people, chase mourners as they are coming in to come and sit down. We expect a very high level of decorum and solemnity tomorrow morning. And if you are given an accreditation to be in the inner perimeter, do well to come in early, check your audio, ensure that you have the required audio feed that you need, and then also check on the TV feed and be sure that you are okay before the service starts at about 7:30.
Well, our presidential affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba is joining us on the telephone lines for preparations which are currently underway at the Black Star Square. Maxwell, how advanced are preparations for tomorrow's state burial? Picture for us.
Well, Ken, we can say that all is set. The set and ground design for the event at the Black Star Square closely resembles that of the presidential inauguration in January, with special designations for all expected guests and mourners. I spoke to the production designer, Tony Prince Committee, who is one of the best we have in the country, and he confirmed that line-array speakers have been installed at strategic points to ensure quality sound. Giant screens will project the entire ceremony for clear viewing for those who do not have the opportunity to sit close. Now, the only colors I see red and black from chairs to canopies. Access to the inner perimeter will be restricted to camera technicians and the burial party and other accredited persons. If you don't have accreditation, you're not going to have access to the inner perimeter.
Well, the Ghana Police Service has also been highlighting how they will manage congestion on the day. Tell us more.
Yes, the police has announced a number of road closure and road diversion. They have also announced some areas will be using as car park, including the Accra Sports Stadium, the Owusu Cemetery, the forecourt of the State House, and the National Conference Center, the Marine Drive Football Park, and then the Sutherland Children's Park as well. Now, earlier, we're told that there will be towing or recovery of vehicles as well. No vehicle will be allowed to park at unauthorized places. And today at the briefing, we were told that traffic police officers will be at hand to direct and assist motorists. And then there will be towing or recovery trucks to tow off any abandoned or wrongly parked vehicles in and around the event grounds. We can hear from Chief Superintendent Alex Obing.
We have one of the biggest car park reserve prepared. Police officers going to be deployed at the Great car park on left outside this Black Star Square. Again, we have enough parking space for dignitaries that are designated as VIP and VVIPs, among others, behind this arch. We have enough space to also accommodate. We have car parks around the stadium. We have some at Access Car Park, also some at the frontage of the State House.
That's the Police MTTD Chief Superintendent Alex Kweku Obing.
Now let's talk roads now. And commercial transport operators in Ghana are up in arms over the deplorable state of the Pokuase-Nsawam Road, which has become a nightmare for motorists, commuters and residents. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union, the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and other transport groups are demanding immediate action from the Ministry of Roads and Highways to fix the road. Now the Pokuase-Nsawam Road, a critical corridor connecting Accra to eastern, Ashanti and northern regions, has deteriorated so badly that it's nearly impassable. Now, the poor condition of the road is causing frequent vehicle breakdowns, high maintenance costs, and shortened vehicle lifespans. And of course, earlier on Top Story, we spoke to the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and also a representative of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, who've given government 1 week to fix the road. My colleague Michael Ashali was there earlier and joins me in the studio. Michael, paint a picture for us. What did you find?
Well, Pearl, so if you leave Pokuase, and just before you get to Amasaman, that is where the troubles start. Depending on the kind of vehicle you are using, it will also determine the kind of trouble that you have to deal with. Well, if you're using a Toyota Vitz and anything looking like it, well, you possibly are better off walking all the way even to wherever, in Samwim or wherever you're going to. If you're in a public transport, you might as well just put a seatbelt around yourself and gather yourself literally together because it's going to be a very bumpy ride. If you are in say a VIP bus or STC, you possibly may feel the ups and downs and all the chill and the cozy and air condition, but you get to where we call satellite. And even for those who have that much comfort, that is where you will have to deal with what personally I call now the pool of death. Okay. Now, in there, I counted around, 2 STCs, 5 long trailers, 3 trotros. As for the small vehicles, even they won't dare. And when I talk about the pool of death, what we are talking about is a long stretch of road that is still uncompleted and a large pool of water sitting there, not draining away, very muddy and very thick. And vehicles, for the long, big vehicles who try to even pass through, I saw 2 of those long vehicles whose trailer, the axles, the longer
axles,
part of
the
it,
longer part of the
it's broken. In fact, if you know...
On that stretch.
Broken. Yeah, when I talk about broken, it's not that there's a part that has removed or something. The bed that the load sits on is literally broken into 2. 2 of such. And those are steel. And when we talk about steel, steels are what we use for skyscrapers. So these are very dependable metal that we use for that part of the vehicle. These are broken. And in fact, the more troubling part is that help cannot come to you because the vehicles the tow trucks that you are calling for help cannot pass through that muddy water. So it's a very dire situation for people who have to live there. Just before I was living there, 2 STC vehicles, one heading to Kumasi and another coming from Kumasi, were all stuck there. And there were a family of about 8 individuals that we know are supposed to get to Kotoka this evening and fly out to Europe tonight. But at Satellite, they are stuck with no vehicles wanting to endure that traffic back to Accra again to help them. So it's a dire situation, and the prayer for passengers, commuters, and everybody alike on that stretch is for government, even if they can, to drag the contractor by the collar to the place to do some works, at least in the immediate term, because they need that relief right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael Ashel. I hope that government is listening and will fix the roads as soon as possible to alleviate the plight of residents on that stretch. It's time now for business, and George Wiafe is here with the latest in the world of business. George.
Yeah. Hope you've not forgotten the name. Well, a lot of issues happening in business, of course, and maybe you should be prepared to pay at least or maybe as much as 3% per litre for the price of petrol and LPG from this weekend. But however, that of diesel will go down marginally. I'll be getting you more on this, on the reasons for this mixed price reviews from this weekend. And World Bank is warning electricity company of Ghana could be hit by more than $2 billion funding gap for this year over failure to charge realistic tariffs and government's non-payment of debt due to be paid to the company. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. You're welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, prices of some petroleum products are expected to be increased from this weekend. Now, this was captured in an industry data that guides the pricing of the various products by the oil marketing companies from the middle of this month. There is more in this report.
Based on the data, the price of petrol should go up by almost 3% per litre from this weekend. The move could result in a litre of petrol being sold at around 13 cedis 27 pesos per litre. LPG will also go up by as much as 2.34% per kilogram. The development could result in a kilogram of liquefied petroleum gas selling at 14 cedis. However, that of diesel will go down by just under a cent. We understand that the increase has been influenced by the cedi's slight depreciation against the dollar and the marginal hike in prices of crude on the international market. Industry persons have also maintained that prices could have been stable if it had not been the recent 1 cedi levy on prices of petroleum products.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the World Bank is warning that the financial situation of the electricity company of Ghana could get bad by the end of this year. The bank in its new report is actually projecting that the funding gap could hit $2.2 billion by December this year. And this could even get out of hand by next year. Robert Talesio is the country director for the World Bank, and he has been speaking at the program in Accra.
In the energy sector, non-cost reflective tariffs, high utility distribution and collection losses, and foreign exchange and inflationary pressures have led to substantial contingent liabilities. The government's Energy Sector Reform Program, ESRP, has not solved these problems, and every year the government must provide significant financial support. The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, built up new debts to independent power producers and fuel suppliers in 2024. If no action is taken, ECG is expected to have a funding gap of $2.2 billion in 2025, with total shortfalls reaching over $9 billion by the end of 2026. So this annual amount that I just mentioned, the estimate of $2.2 billion, is actually more than Ghana receives from the World Bank and the IMF in any given year, thus indicating the magnitude that we are facing.
Robert Talesio is the country director for the World Bank, speaking at the launch of the Ghana Economic Update Report. Now, commercial banks have maintained that government may have a major role to play when it comes to the drastic reduction of non-performing loans in the country. It's coming after the Bank of Ghana announced a series of tough measures to reduce the ratio of non-performing loans by the end of next year. Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Banks, JoyNews, says the current legal system and enforcement mechanisms have not been helpful in dealing with the situation.
When a contractor says, I've done job, I'm not being paid, it's not a contractor who is not being paid. But the funding for the contractor to mobilize the site would have been provided by a bank. So it is actually a bank who are the silent sufferers when contractors or government counterparties are not getting the settlement that they have been promised. So it is, it takes all the key players within the architecture to work together to improve the credit environment. So the non-performing loan rates will come down to even below the 10% that the prudential limit is advising us to conform to.
And John Owusu is the chief executive of the Association of Banks, that is the Ghana Association of Banks. Now, the executive director of Young Investors Network, Joshua Mensah, says the organization is intensifying practical financial literacy in Ghana. Now, partnering with the Ghana Stock Exchange and the Central Securities Depository, the group is educating young people and the public when it comes to investment opportunities on the Ghana Stock Exchange. He says that a lot still has to be done to improve financial literacy in the country.
We've been touring the whole Ghana, talking to them about the importance of investments for the youths. We've done almost 10 regions now. And looking at the feedback, we realized that the low level of investment education in Ghana. So we collaborate with the Ghana Stock Exchange to organize the financial literacy education, purposely focusing on young investors. For Young Investor Network, our focus has been on practical education, practical financial investment education. And it's been great. One of the areas is what we call the stimulation. Currently, we have over 800 people who have applied to join our Young Investors Analyst Program, where they will do practical simulation exercise. We also have students buying shares now, so there are a lot of practical. We don't just do theory, we are doing practical investment education among the youth in Ghana.
And you heard there, that is the Executive Director of the Young Investors Network, Joshua Mensah. Let's turn to the stock market. Now, the share price of MTN was down by 4% at the close of trading today. Now, this resulted in the share price, or the each share of MTN, now it's reaching 3 Ghana cedis 94 pesos. That of GCB Bank was up by 4 pesos to close at 9 Ghana cedis 41 pesos. In terms of the year-to-date return on your investment on the Ghana Stock Exchange, it has crossed 50%. And again, if you track other assets on the market, it is still the best performing return compared to treasury bills and other investment assets. And that's all for business on News Night. Back to you, Pearl. And the name is George Yafe.
George, thank you very much. It's now time for sports, and Daniel Quarantine is here.
Thank you very much, Pearl, where MTN Ghana has signed a new 2-year partnership deal with the Ghana Football Association worth 2 million Ghana cedis to become the headline sponsor of 5 national teams. The deal marks a shift from the agreement signed before the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. It's also valued at $2 million, but covered only the Black Stars. The new agreement includes the Black Queens, the Black Satellites, the Black Starlets, and Ghana's under-19 male national team, in addition to the Black Stars. Moving on, AS Roma Italian club have made a £20 million offer to sign England winger Jadon Sancho from Manchester United, where he remains excluded from training with the first team squad. The 25-year-old, who has been told to find a new club before the transfer window closes on September 1, joined Man United for £73 million 4 years ago. Juventus, who unlike Roma have qualified for this season's Champions League, are also known to be interested in Sancho. The former Borussia Dortmund wide man returned to Manchester United in July after Chelsea paid a £5 million penalty to get out of an obligation to sign him, having spent last season on loan at Stamford Bridge. That's an end to sports. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Daniel Cranton, for the sports news. Now, I bet you might have heard the term activate body cameras during the 2024 general elections and thought it refers to physical body cams. Well, it's actually not. Body cam. That's a security code that actually ensured victory for the NDC during both the 2024 general elections and in Ablekuma North, a master plan attributed to the late Dr. Edward Omani-Boamah.
Well, speaking on a special tribute program on PM Express on JoyNews last night, Deputy Director of IT and Elections of the NDC, Rashid Tanko, first explained how Dr. Omani-Boamah birthed a homegrown solution to help in monitoring the election and result collation.
Look, when we first met and Omani played a cast for us and told us this is how we are going to combat the election, far back 2023, as soon as we came to office, the issue of collation of resource was our problem in the party.
That's true.
We had that difficulty.
For 2 successive elections, it's always been a challenge.
And 2020, we had challenges. Omani said, look, we are going to collate this resource and everybody will be shocked how we are going to do it. We are not going to bring any strategy from abroad or any equipment from abroad. We will design the thing ourselves. So when we started and he was doing his mapping and doing the strategy, you're going to do this, how we are going to do it. We came out with a manual. He commissioned me to come out with an election training manual. When I produced the document and sent to him, and he looked at it, he used pen and sat down. That was the time I got to know that this man is an institution when it comes to election management. People didn't know. He looked at it critically and said, look, yes, you have the idea, but this is how we are going to do it. This is how we are going to combat it. Then we came out with a manual for the election. That was a game changer. Look, these election results that we collated, it was the brainwork of Dr. Omani-Boamah. He sat down with our team and then we designed some simple strategy, simple thing.
Rashid Tanko is the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. And here's how the term activate body cameras secured victory for the party.
The body cameras thing was a code. So you only need to be a member of us for us to give you the tools to decode the meaning of that body camera. It's not the normal cameras that you people are seeing.
Okay.
It's a strategy.
I see.
Yes, it's just a code that he designed and said, look, midday, when the going is becoming tough, this is the strategy we are going to deploy and confuse the NPP and all that. So as soon as we realized that in the afternoon things were going the way we didn't want it, we activated that code.
So when the announcement came that...
Yes, activate body cameras. All our men in the field, because we had deployed men from different areas to different places at strategic location, and it was his instrumentality. So you see us pick somebody, a professor or a lecturer somewhere, train them properly, and deploy them to locations outside their jurisdiction. And give them the code that at this point, as soon as you hear the activate the body camera, change the strategy. This is how you should do it.
So this is fascinating. So this activate the body camera is not the actual activation of a physical
camera
on your body.
No,
as we know it, as worn by the police.
It's a code.
Okay. And what? So when you activate, what do you do in reality?
Well, let's keep that one for another election, because on the very day, Wednesday morning, when we met and we're talking about Kotia, we wanted to use that one again.
You wanted to activate the camera? The
cameras again. We did it at Ablekuma North, and it worked perfectly for us. Because that thing he designed, that strategy, I'm telling you, MPP, it will take them longer time to understand this.
So activate the body camera.
Activate the
It's
body.
a strategy.
It's a strategy. It's
that
just
needs to be activated.
It's just like the blood of Jesus. You know, it's a code. Religious leaders will tell you what it means. If you are not at the high level, you understand. You think it's a normal blood. It's not. It's a code in the Bible that you need to go higher before they can decode it for you. So they activate the body camera. It's a code. You only need to be a member.
What is the code? So if I tell you to activate your body camera, what will you do?
I will activate it and you see a different computer altogether in the field. The way we will do it. And he will sit one place and just tell us, activate it now. Don't activate it at this time. Do it at this point.
So how do you send a message? WhatsApp or call?
Evan, you wait and see. We will activate it at Akotia. So and we will get the results.
So that is Dr. Mani Boama's.
Yes, that was the something. Yes, that he brought.
So, Kenneth, what will you be activating?
Oh, I will be activating money. Operation Activate Money. That's what I want. Well, let's go to the opposition MPP because the party's flag bearer hopeful Dr. Yao Osei-Aduchim has expressed confidence that his party will choose him as its presidential candidate for the 2028 general elections. Addressing the media after receiving the party's nomination forms picked on his behalf by his supporters earlier today, the former education minister emphasized that the party's victory in 2028 would mark the beginning of a transformative journey.
A journey that began many years ago has now gone to a place where we are on track. We are on track. And by the grace of God, my party, I believe, would vote for me and make me the flag bearer of the new patriotic party. And after that, we'll be on a journey to the promised land. The land that our nation has been yearning for years. That our nation will become a prosperous one. Our nation will wage war against poverty and win. That the poverty and deprivation will be over. That is what the campaign of 2028 will be about. To be about a country that had independence many years ago. We've done our very best. From the first president to the current president, each one of them have done something great. Yet, we have a lot to do. And that is what the Aduchim presidency will be about.
That's the former education minister and Bosomchi MP, Dr. Yao Osei-Aduchim. And that brings us to the end of News Night. Tonight, my name is Kenneth Jesse.
My name is Pelo Furi.
And right after this, on Personality Profile, is Pierre Kuma, who is an author of Burns Survivor with Lexus Bill.